the basics of finding, buying, building, and selling businesses for maximum profit. Hello, everyone. My name is Tessa. I'm here to introduce you to Reagan Rodriguez and the Futurist Mindset show. Reagan is a futurist that teaches stratosphere wealthy legacy families how to become impact investors. Hi, Reagan. How are you?
I am doing better than I deserve. And yourself?
I'm doing great, and I'm happy to be
Yeah.
here today to learn more because this sounds like a great topic. Specifically, buying, like building and buying businesses for maximum profit sounds like something everyone needs to know about.
Yeah, you're right. And right before we hit the record button, I just mentioned to Tessa, we may not get through with everything. And that's okay because just like you mentioned, what a great topic to do a part two or 2.0 version. Also, you mentioned something that I'm glad you brought up because I wasn't going to mention this, that you said at the beginning, what a good topic for any, not just for someone that's thinking in terms of acquiring companies. I think it's a good topic for any business owner themselves because you can look at your primary business as exactly that. Hey, let's assume I did want to exit strategy and I wanted to sell. I probably need to get some systems in place, right? Or I probably need to work on some cash flow. Or if you are thinking of acquisition mode, even if your business, you're thinking, I'm barely making a profit. How should I be thinking in terms of acquisition? Nope, that's okay because we can go over a strategy on an acquisition that could increase the cash flow. And if that person is not doing as well as you are, they would see how partnering up would help both. So what a like I said, I'm just you set it up perfectly. So here's
Oh,
what I
good.
want to do. I want to discuss a few topics. So your business plan. And when I say a business plan, I don't mean like the same business plan that we put together for people that are wanting to raise capital. I mean you individual, what is your business plan for your business? And what is your plan on acquisitions? Think of the math of what you're going to do with buy, building, and sell. I want you to also think about your business strategy. Will you be going after startups? Will you be going after franchises? I think franchises is a really wise first when you're acquiring companies. If you don't know much about businesses, you've got something that already has the systems in place.
True.
And so there won't be as big of a learning curve. Okay. The other thing that I'm going to also teach you, if you're writing this down, have patience. Okay. Don't fall in love with the business, fall in love with the deal. And if you do need to be patient and walk away, then do that. This just helped me see something else. If you're writing this down, rules, right? When you think of, you've heard the expression, rules are made to be broken. Not in this case. No, they're made to be followed because they're going to be your rules about when you go to buy a business and what are the things to walk away from, right? Ah, great topic. Next point, due diligence. Every business you're going to have to do a due diligence on. Um, Valuation. Ask that business owner if they've done a valuation. And if not, don't pay to get one done. Find out what are they cash flowing? What is that break even point? If they're not cash flowing that well, then you're not going to make them several multiples. You're going to offer what it cash flows this year. Okay. Again, that's talking about being patient and setting up rules. And if you have to, walk away from the deal. Now, let's assume someone says, well, what if I find a business that is very, very profitable? Well, Okay, well then maybe you're going to have to raise funds. So that's another topic, but something to think about. Another thing to also think of is creating the offer. What is the offer you're wanting to make? I talked about this before. Let's not get emotional about the business, and there's nothing wrong with reducing the offer. Okay. Oh, here's how you know whether it's a good deal or not. I call it kind of the braggability kind of thing. If you were meeting with friends and you were having a drink or you were at that local bar or pub that you go to, is it a deal you would brag about to your friends? If it's not, then let's not move forward with it, right? I want to see if I have any other notes. I really like that you're taking down notes. I saw that you were doing that because that's probably that is the way I'd like to finish off this talk, okay? Or this training session, if you will, because I want you to think about homework and things that you want to accomplish as well. So determine, let's think of three things. Determine what your current business valuation is going to be. Determine who the buyers of who your business are going to be. And examine which industries have good buyers, meaning what is the niche of that business? What are they looking for? And then just start doing your homework day one. But before you go out there, start doing your homework on that. As I mentioned before, what's going to be your business plan around this? And I'm giving you a hint here that the tip is that it cash flows. Okay. Another thing I'm going to go, I know something else to go over. And I like, again, that you're taking down notes here. We're going to look for 8 things when you're looking to want to buy a business. And the goal is to buy the business at nothing down or through seller financing. So number 1, is the business surviving despite itself? I'll get into that later. If you can write that one down for me, Tessa, because I'm thinking through a lot of things, but I don't want to confuse people. I want to get to number 2. Buy only cash flow, not fixed assets. Number 3, low skill, right? Do I want to buy an architectural firm where there's people with big egos, and if somebody leaves, it's going to be hard to replace that person or train somebody? No, I don't want an architectural firm. I'd rather have a paving business that does paving, right? Because it's low skill. Anybody could, or another way, do you want a home building business or a home paving business, right? Something that's easy to retrain staff. Is the product or the service repeat business? I like dry cleaning businesses for that reason. People are going to keep coming in. Last week, Tessa, we kind of talked about that, the subscription-based models. The current marketing that business is doing right now, think about it. If it is very bad, which is a good thing. It's a good thing if you're wanting to acquire that business at nothing down. It gives you ammo on the negotiation. So is the marketing really, really bad? Or even better, is it non-existent? Why do I say that that's even better? Because now you know that you'll be able to grow the business, right? You know some easy things you can do. Number 7 is the person that's managing, that general manager. Is he a good business person? Is he or she a leader, right? And again, if they're not, that's a good thing again for you. And the last thing, the purchase must be my deal. My deal. What do I mean by that? We're going to be selfish here, right? In a relationship, Tessa, if you'd say, here's the way it works, it's all going to be about me, it's not going to work real well. But when it comes to some, yes, this is going to be your deal because I don't want you, if you're listening to this, to make an unwise decision and then you acquired a company that you're like, oh my gosh, what did I do? No, no, no. This is going to be your deal and your rules that you're going to write down. So, Tessa, I do want to pick on you with whatever questions that you thought of because my objective of today is that anybody, it could be a 19-year-old that just graduated from high school that said, can I do something like this? Can I buy an existing business? So I'm okay with dumbing it down. That's what I want to do. So let me begin with that, Tessa. Let me begin with this, and then I want to get to yours. If I asked you, buy, build, and sell, so that's the topic. What do you think is the hardest thing to do out of those three? Buy, build, or sell? Just answer right away. Don't try and think you know the answer.
I would say buy because you have to find the funding, but that's me.
You actually answered it correctly. Nobody answers it that way. Most people say that the hardest is to build. It's kind of a trick question. I expected you to say build. Most people hearing this
That's
would
the
say
wrong
build.
question, totally wrong. So there you go. Sometimes I
No, no,
come
no. We're going to get, I'm glad that you did that because building it is the hardest if you're starting a business from scratch. But if you buy an existing, and maybe you did pick up on some of the things that I said, if it's run by somebody that doesn't manage it very well, it's going to be really easy to build. If they don't have a marketing system, kind of like we talked about last week.
Mhm.
If it's a business that doesn't have a website or they're not doing much, then building it would actually be easy. The hardest is, you're right, is buying. Isn't that the whole term that I'm going over? You'd think I would have given you the answer. So tell me, what are some questions that you thought of? And that's a good way to conclude kind of the training.
Yes. Well, the only question that really stood out to me, I know you said buy cash flow, not assets. Do you want to explain why? I mean, I'm assuming you want the cash flow because then you have got immediate cash flow when you're buying it. But
Sure.
why would an asset buying assets be less of a good choice?
Yeah. I'll give an example that happened about maybe 7 years ago till this day. I still remember because not long ago this guy emailed me and said, "Thank you. Do you realize we're going on 7 years that you gave me this advice?" And this is a few months ago. So it was a kind of a coffee shop that only had 15 or 17 coffee mugs, but it sat 50 people.
Hmm.
Well, all they had was 15 coffee mugs. So this friend of mine that didn't have a lot of business that was wanting to buy it said, I think you told me to always look for somebody that I said, look for an idiot. It didn't sound nice, but I said, look for somebody that's not doing things right, that you're thinking, how are they making it? Right. Well, this person wasn't making it. Okay. And they only had 15 coffee cups, but he didn't want to have to buy any more. Talk about not wanting to invest in your business. And I thought, can you imagine that? Someone's drinking the coffee and you're the owner and go, are you finished with your coffee? Are you finished? Hurry up because we need to wash that mug to provide. And that's what they would do. When the person would finish it, they'd be washing it in the back to give it to somebody else. I mean, if it seats 50 people, common sense would tell you should have at least 50 glasses, coffee cups, right? So what I said to that person, this wasn't making money. We're not going to pay for the tables, the chairs, any of that. It's not even making a profit. So how did he take over the business? The guy had a 5-year lease that was like a lease, not a lease. And it wasn't making a profit. And it had already been in business for about 2.5 years. So I said, at this point, just tell them you'll take over. the lease. So the guy's like, I'm fine with this. And I said, you can already think of a few strategies to grow it. When I said another example that I thought of that I gave earlier about a dry cleaning business, the same thing, if the dry cleaning business was netting or cash flowing, say 80,000 a year, but there was $500,000 in equipment, I would say, I understand that you spent a lot of money on all this equipment, but quite frankly, I really don't care. I'm not here to buy that stuff. I buy the cash flow. Oh, great. So if it nets 100,000, are you going to give me 4 times? No, no, I'm going to give you exactly what it nets. Is that 100,000 and the rest we're going to, oh, that's another thing. That's another way. Well, it might be one of your questions. Go ahead. Go ahead. Next
No,
one.
no,
So I don't get too
that
much
was the
in.
only question I had, honestly. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
go ahead and go into your next one for sure.
The next was we were talking about, you
Oh,
said,
yes. Is the business surviving despite
so
itself?
yes, you want to look for ways that you can think are some easy ways that you can grow the business. Um, the other thing is, gosh, there was something else that I gave an example of that I had totally forgotten. I think it was, go ahead. What were you going to
No,
say?
no, I was trying to remember myself. So I was thinking that was my thinking look.
Oh, the business is surviving despite itself. I
Mhm.
know I mentioned that as well.
Yes.
So again, they don't have marketing. You go into the business and think, I could do something much better with this. I could really, then any business that you walk into that you're just observing and say, I could do this, I could do that, that there's no reason for you can't approach the business owner. And you could do something as simple as, have you ever thought of selling? And if it's, oh my gosh, if somebody would just, anybody offered me anything, I'd take it. Oh, wow. That should tell you something. Now I remember what I was going to say. Very important. I was mentioning, let's assume that dry cleaner is netting 80 to 100,000. This is how we're going to start the negotiation because most people start with a number and then they negotiate down. He, here's how you'd start with a business like that. You'd start at zero. And then you tell me why it's worth more.
Oh,
Why should I
interesting.
give you more? Because right now I'm not seeing much value to this. So
Mm.
when I said be patient, walk away from the deal, if you're looking at the numbers, you're looking at stuff and saying, this doesn't seem to make much sense here,
Gotcha.
then say, you know what? I really need to think through this. Give me till tomorrow. You're not being manipulative. Boy, oh boy, you really do need to think through this. And so does he or she. So don't be surprised if he or she calls you the next day. Have you had a chance to think about it? Well, yes and no. I probably thought about the same things you did. Did you as well? Yeah, I realize I'm probably asking a little too much for the business. Yeah, that's what I thought about as well. Or there's nothing wrong with when they say, look, I really am hiding some of my money here, or I'm doing this, but this is what the offer is making. Saying, gosh, will you excuse me for a minute? I just need to talk to one of my partners. And again, don't lie. Okay, your partner could be your spouse that you want to run this by. So again, don't do that whole car salesman. Let me literally, you've got your phone, make a call. It could be a call like this gentleman with the coffee shop. It could be a friend of yours, right? You could say, hey, I'm going to call a business associate of mine, Reagan, right? And you could call me, right? Or let me talk to my business partner. Let me talk to whatever. And you get on the phone and you talk to your husband, right? Brian, this is what he said, this. Well, gosh, we'll talk about it later tonight. That's what you can do. right? You go back there and say, just give me a few days to think on this. Then when they do, says, I've been thinking through some things as well. Or that person said, I spoke with my wife about this as well. And if you would just take over the lease and what we've got to deal with this month, that's fine. What do you mean what we have to deal with this month? Well, we've got this bill, we've got that. We have an employee we've got to pay. What do you got to pay him? Well, I got to come up with $2,000. So wait a minute.
Yeah, those are
The
expensive.
lease that now we just have an offer, right?
True.
It's not zero down, but darn close to it. You'd say, tell you what, we've got to cover this. We've got to get, you're saying all of this to get you out of this is 4,000, plus you've got to cover another 2,000 for the rent. Yeah. I'll offer you 10,000 right now. I have a friend that actually did that. She lives in Los Angeles. I met her at a continuing education class. I actually just talked to her 2 days ago. We're more kind of friends. She did buy a business at 10,000, and this was in LA, and it was doing that exact same thing. So she actually watched our show last week. So if she sees it this week, she'd be like, don't tell them what business it was. I didn't, nor did I mention your name. So I think that's it. I don't
All
want this
right.
to go too much time. I want you guys to think through some things, and then I'll uncover a little bit more next week.
Yes.
Go for it. What
Yeah,
did you
no,
want to
I was
say,
just
or
going to
did you want to
say
ask?
if you have any questions, you can go to the Fifth Avenue website, which will be in the post as well. It's 5THAAVC.com. So you can talk to Regan, set up a time and ask, do a consultation with Regan to find out more about how he helps people to make these business decisions, whether they're buying or selling